As the dramatic details of the CEO assassin unfold before our eyes, I felt compelled to really make this video to understand the intense emotions surrounding this issue and why so many people around the nation resonate with him. It was quite literally a topic that had everyone's attention since the beginning and still does to this day. Generally, many breaking news slaughters are covered for a brief moment and then brushed to the side until they move on to the next trending topic. But something about this story and the upcoming trial has everyone enveloped to a degree, if not more so, than the trials covered for, say, the Menendez brothers or even the O.J. Simpson trial. 26-year-old Luigi Mangione had just done the unthinkable, and there was no going back from it. He was now the face and the physical manifestation of everyone's anger, sorrow, and even admiration. In this installment, we are going to dive into why this one young man has become in the public eye a culprit and even a martyr. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kale and I am a Doctor of Pharmacy candidate documenting both medical and non-medical mysteries on my journey to the PharmD. It's December 4th and I'm preparing for college finals. Headline after headline is popping up all over my devices, letting me know that there has been a recent murder in Manhattan. Well, into the rest of the week and weeks after that, headlines on the current progress of this whole fiasco kept surfacing with little to no idea where Mangione disappeared to. The same headline over and over again, the CEO assassin. Initially, I didn't think this was as concerning as everyone was making it out to be. I was focused on passing my exams and getting ready for the Christmas season. But little did I know that Mangione was on the run and everyone was holding their breath, waiting for updates on what could occur and what could come of this situation. Less than a week later, Mangione was apprehended not too far from the New York area. It still didn't pique my interest, and at this point, I just kept it pushing. What did catch my attention, though, is the amount of romantic interest that this one young man was getting from media outlets and everywhere, the unwavering support he was receiving. The real true investment that really brought me into this is after I read a novel that really resonated with this whole situation coincidentally. The inspiration for this video is a book called What's Coming to Me by Francesca Padilla. What's Coming to Me follows a young girl named Minerva Gutierrez, and she lives in a small seaside town named Nautilus. She's a high school student that works in an ice cream parlor under the strict supervision of a sexist and very creepy boss. Her mother is in critical condition in the hospital awaiting a heart transplant, not knowing if she will receive it or not, as she is battling poverty and her disease is considered very rare. Minerva, however, in hopes of getting an easy payday, decides that she wants to rob the same ice cream parlor that she works at under the justification that her boss deserves it and she deserves to get paid. She does this with the help of two of her friends that also support and justify her behavior, with hopes of also receiving an easy payday and getting away unnoticed. There are so many parallels between this story and Mangione, as both feel an urgent need to take matters into their own hands and seek justice in a radical way due to feeling wronged by those in power. We are going to address all the recent shocking events, but first be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're here for all the dark medical and non-medical mysteries that we'll be covering. Also, my Instagram is Kale Esprit. You can connect with me over there, and I'll be sure to read your stories and suggestions, so be sure to follow me over there as well. Now, let's break down what we know. Luigi Mangione is a 26-year-old Ivy League graduate that resided in Maryland. Before his unfortunate downfall, he was actually a very promising student, and many would say that he had a big future ahead of him. He had a supportive family, all extremely wealthy, owning things from golf clubs to radio shows and even several properties. Everything he desired was his. In fact, according to his LinkedIn, he was actually a data engineer for TrueCar, and many of his interests focused on AI algorithms and games. He was the top of his class. He received a cum laude from his university, and there was even a period of time before his arrest that he resided in Honolulu, Hawaii, and was working on building up more of his company there. If you were to type in Luigi Mangione into LinkedIn right now, you will come face to face with several posts of people in support or disgusted by him. In fact, at the time of making this video, Mangione has surpassed over 15,000 followers on LinkedIn. Luigi was virtually healthy for all of his life, but it wasn't until a period of time where he experienced some excruciating pain in his back, and that led him to seek medical care. Now, no one knows what hospital or even insurance policy Luigi had, as that information is not provided to the public, but it was, however, revealed that his back condition could have been spondylitis. The ending of the word itis is an indicator for many medical professionals to mean inflammation. So without looking up the word, we can already see that it was perhaps an inflammation in his spine area. However, the most formal definition of spondylitis is actually an arthritis that causes inflammation along the spine. Treatment painkillers that can range are things such as opioids, things such as oxycodone, to name one, and even TNF alpha blockers that I easily remember as the endings EMABs, ZUMABs, and MUMABs. These TNF alpha blockers are actually monoclonal antibodies that suppress the inflammatory tumor necrosis factor protein within the body in order to decrease the amount of inflammation that the patient experiences. One thing about these drugs with the endings EMABs, MUMABs, and ZUMABs is that they are actually very expensive, and in school we're often taught if we can get the patient to receive pain relief without using them, try to go for them, because a lot of the times the price point is going to deter the patient anyways. A lot of these medications can actually go up to being over $1,000, roughly. Another reason that we also view it as a last resort is because it is an injectable. So a lot of the times patients don't prefer to be stuck with needles if they can use something that is by mouth most of the time. However, when an injectable is needed, the financial cost itself can turn an entire patient's life around if they don't have an adequate insurance policy that will cover the costs. Let's take infliximab. I, as a pharmacy student, am granted access to a database called Micromedics, where I often can access the Redbook search engine and look up the prices of stock bottles of medications, and I use this often for many of my clinical scenarios. At the time of making this video, infliximab is actually $570 for a 100 milligram stock bottle. The recommended dose is 5 milligrams per kilograms for weeks 0, 2, and 6, followed by the same 5 milligrams per kilograms every 6 weeks after. To do this calculation of what Mangione would hypothetically have to owe, we will have to calculate how much of the drug he would require, and that would require his body weight. According to a quick Google search, his height was determined to be 5'11", and his body weight was determined to be 160 pounds, which is converted to 73 kilograms after dividing the pounds by 2.2. Now, visually seeing him, we know he's in great shape. That's like one of the things people are gushing over. But just to be sure that we're going to use his actual body weight and not his ideal body weight, we'll just calculate and see which body weight we'll use for his dosing. To do this, I will set up an ideal body weight calculation by doing 50 plus 2.3 times the height over 5 feet, which was 11 inches, and we calculated that to be 75.3 kilograms, which is very close to his actual body weight of 73 kilograms. So Mangione is in very great shape. Now, using his actual body weight to find his dosing, we'll set up a proportion. A recommended dosing of 5 milligrams per kilogram will mean that Mangione will require 365 milligrams of infliximab. If it costs $570 for one stock bottle of 100 milligrams, it will cost $2,081 for 365 milligrams. Doctors would then require 4 vials of the infliximab because they will charge you for all 4 vials because they're not going to do 3 vials in part of the 4th vial. Then when the drug is reconstituted, they will withdraw 36.5 milliliters and provide it to Mangione. Here, we can determine if one vial of 100 milligrams of infliximab costs $570, then 4 vials will cost $2,280. For the full recommended regimen, he will need shots at week 0, 2, and 6, totaling 3 injections, meaning he's going to have to pay a whopping $6,840. Now, let's take it further. Hypothetically, if Luigi needed shots every 6 weeks for the remainder of the year, which is 46 weeks, he would need roughly 7.6, which we will round up to 8 more injections, and this will total $54,720 out of pocket without insurance, and that is not even calculating the administration costs and any other miscellaneous fees that the institution would calculate as well. Theoretically, some of these additional costs can add up to over $600. That is more than the cost of most colleges and even some vehicles. I know. The cost of care is unsettling for many of you, and it's unsettling for me as well. Now, what we do know from this is that months before the assassination took place, Mangione became very withdrawn from his family. He refused to respond to text messages, answer calls, and even fulfill prior commitments he made to those around him. His family and friends showed great concern for him, but there was no way to find him anywhere. On November 24th, Mangione appeared in New York preparing for his premeditated crime to occur on December 4th, where he would be able to intercept CEO Brian Thompson and take his life. To understand how the premeditated actions came to fruition, we must first understand why they were there in the first place and the steps he took to get there. His anger towards American healthcare didn't just stem from anywhere. Mangione was fueled by certain creative works as well as detailed themes of human suppression and the lack of freedom. One of his main interests that have actually been revealed by his high rating and review on Goodreads is the Unabomber Manifesto by Ted Kaczynski. The description of the book illustrates a society where human suppression is stifled by industrialization, by the bringing about of technology, while forcing humans to adapt to machinery and suppress human freedom and potential. According to an article by Newsweek, Mangione actually had a written review of the manifesto, quote, "You may not like his methods, but to see things from his perspective, it's not terrorism, it's war and revolution." Mangione's Goodreads has since been private, but his support for taking matters into your own hands is implicated. This greatly parallels with Minerva's want to rob the ice cream parlor that she works at. She doesn't take long to discredit any excuses for why this could be a bad decision. She chalks up her behavior and her ultimate final decision to be her never-ending poverty and a recent robbery that actually occurred at the same ice cream parlor that she works at. She and other co-workers were almost harmed in, as well as her distaste for her boss and the inappropriate behavior at the workplace. Although initially the plan to rob the ice cream parlor is her idea, she is roped in and almost goaded into doing this by the other 2 friends that also become a part of the situation, where she feels that there's no going back now anyways. They want a piece of the pie, and she's willing to provide it for them. At this point, she realizes that she's in too deep now anyways and just decides to go through with the plan. It is important to note that Mangione did not and could not have worked alone. Along with the footage and the hooded figure of what appeared to be Mangione making his way to the hotel, there were also shots of him on a phone speaking to somebody. He would have needed an inside source to get him to know the location and the angle to come at to even intercept Brian Thompson. The murder was pulled off successfully, and it is what happened afterwards and what continues to be uncovered that is the most unsettling to watch. Remember how I told you at the beginning that Mangione wasn't a client for United Health? Yeah, well, it makes you wonder, Why Thompson then? United Health is one of the largest insurance companies with other small insurance companies affiliated with this organization. It was founded by Richard T. Burke in the 1970s. It became so popular and so widely used by the American public due to its large network and market dominance. Many doctors and hospitals accept United, giving patients a broad choice of healthcare providers, and due to its wide availability and reputation, it is chosen because of its familiarity. However, over the past 25 years, the cost of insurance has skyrocketed, outpacing inflation, causing many Americans to face higher deductibles, which also increases their out-of-pocket costs. Not to mention that America is the only state in the world with the most expensive healthcare and the lowest life expectancy rates, compared to other countries like Switzerland, the UK, Australia, and even Canada. In the UK, there's no cost to seeing a doctor due to the single-payer system provided by the NHS. In addition, they spend a lot less than the American system does on administrative costs. For example, if you are a diabetic in the UK, your costs of prescriptions are free, so you don't have to worry about any costs at all. The single-payer system in Switzerland also so great because they have a system that runs primarily on social solidarity and a right to care that is viewed as a basic human right. Or even consider the hybrid system utilized in Australia that uses both a public health system and a private health system. The public Medicare system is used as a base and it's layered with the private health system on top. This ensures that the private health sector takes pressure off the public health sector that most of the public generally uses. Or even Canada that utilizes a taxpayer-funded universal healthcare system where patients don't have to worry about how they're going to pay for their medical bills. They just get good care and they don't have to worry about affording it. All of these examples are very important to consider, but also consider under the microscope that all these other countries don't have these significant health risks that Americans usually face, such as diabetes or high blood pressure, that are more predominant in the States. In fact, a CEO of the Health Transformation Alliance stated, quote, "Unhappiness with insurers stems from two things. I'm sick and I'm getting hassled, and the second is very much cost. I'm paying more than I used to, and I'm paying more than my wages went up." It is important to note that the average health insurance premium for families carried a price tag of $25,572 per year, while single workers paid an average of $8,951, representing a 6% and 7% increase from the year earlier. American insurance companies would justify this cost of care due to the high level of equipment that they use on a day-to-day basis, as well as the numerous tests that they take to ensure that the diagnosis is correct, where they can provide the best treatment accurately and safely. Furthermore, this has encouraged the use of prior authorizations, also known as PAs. This is done that once a claim is denied, a doctor would then call insurance companies as soon as possible to ensure that the patient needs this regimen. I had experience doing prior authorizations myself as a pharmacy intern on my rotations, and a lot of the time when I called a doctor's office, I wouldn't even get the doctor themselves. I would get a nurse or a receptionist that then would relay the message to the doctor. But eventually it's done and the patient does get their medication majority of the time. It is a very tedious process, and for life-threatening situations where immediate prior authorizations are needed, if a doctor does not have a system in place where these prior authorizations can be met at an adequate time, a lot of people can face debilitating situations or even lose their lives. Doctors also receive their funding from healthcare insurance companies, and if they don't have that specific funding to hire staff that specifically handle these prior authorizations, this can also be a severe hurdle that doctors have to face and just have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, seeing patients denied the care that they need. This is what brings me back to Mangione and the amount of people that have resonated with him, despite him throwing his life away undoubtedly for a cause he was so passionate about. Whether he was persuaded to do this by others who, by the way, are not sitting in jail with him right now and have been very quiet while all of this is unfolding, or if he just wanted to be a revolutionary despite the consequences, like the Unabomber he holds to such high regard, it chalks up the anger that everyone faces that see that companies prioritize money over merit. Whether you are a healthcare provider, an insurance company, a PBM, whatever it is, we as healthcare professionals owe it our all to be sure that patients receive the best care no matter what. It is unacceptable to believe that other countries besides our own don't need all the fancy equipment, don't need all of these extra tests to get the care to their patients, and still have a higher life expectancy than the US. We have a first and foremost oath to our patients that seek care, and especially to maintain the dignity of them and the families around them. It is undoubtedly disheartening to see so many companies with actual human beings being the face of them watch as so many patients are denied care for their critical conditions and descend into further debilitating conditions or even death. Although the intent behind this infamous murder was to initiate change and to demonstrate the anger that so many American people are facing, the fact remains that although Thompson was the CEO, he was just that, the CEO. He can be replaced. And in fact, he will be replaced, and a new CEO will just be the face of United Health. Whether this sparks change or infuriates this company to continue the insuring policies out of spite, the American people will have to stomach the idea that Mangione either aided their efforts or made it worse while he spends his life in jail, assuming jury nullification doesn't occur. If a company can be money hungry to watch many people die on the idea of insurance policies, or because a PA is not approved, or someone can't foot the bill, what makes us think that they would bat an eyelash to Thompson and that this whole effort would not be in vain? These policies have been up and alive since the company was founded by Richard T. Burke, and it has been successful for a reason after so many years, and his successors have not budged in wanting to change it. Quite frankly, Mangione shouting at the Pennsylvania reporters outside of a courthouse that it's completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people and their lived experience doesn't comfort me at all. Being a descendant of wealthy parents that own country clubs, radio shows, and several properties isn't the average lived experience of Americans. Our lived experiences are very different. To see that this is the only way to issue change is unsettling. Undoubtedly, he wanted to get a message across, but to manage to only get to Pennsylvania and then be caught in McDonald's of all places, and furthermore to have written admissions to the crime that authorities uncovered in his justification for doing so, it doesn't change that we're still here. A lot of change that we see issued by historical figures in our past have always done it peacefully. And although they became martyrs as well and lost their lives for a cause they believed in, they were farther, way farther than any other radical effort that tried the same thing but in a more violent way. Minerva also battled this same common dilemma, and although she justified her actions and made active efforts to do so to complete her mission, in the end her plans were almost always foiled, and eventually she took it as a sign that that wasn't what she needed to do or her way to get to the goal that she believed was the only way to get there. Each scenario, both fictional and real, is an opportunity for learning. As we wait and we see the outcome of this trial as America holds its breath, I think we can all agree that what we are willing to live for, we must also be willing to die for. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I very much so enjoyed making it. Saw so much going around about this topic. It is still fresh. We're still waiting to see what could be uncovered with it. It definitely struck a chord with many people around the nation. And after reading this book, it definitely put it into more perspective how what we need at the moment and what we see as implemental things to changing our lives, we take radical efforts to do it in hopes that we get it immediately. Whether a lot of the actions are done by fear, anger, or even self-destruction, a lot of the times our ideas have fuel to it, inspired by what we see, what we consume, what we hear, and what we currently know. This book was definitely an interesting read, and the current news events unfolding continue to have me on the edge of my seat, and I will be definitely tuning in when the trial occurs in February. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about this whole trial and any stories that you guys may have to share about your own details with either United Health or any other insurance companies in general. Also, you can follow me on Kale Esprit. You can connect with me over there as well. As I say, be sure to smile more, appreciate life more, and I'll see you guys next time.